really haven't, experienced much of a slowdown because of all this. And, we're really looking forward to your call. I've bragged on you a bit to Mike.
Good. Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, we have been busy, very busy.
What's new in your world, man?
Just getting through quarterly meetings right now and, trying to help everybody kind of navigate some of this. It's been really interesting. A majority of my clients, they're riding through this just fine. I've had one though that's had some serious issues.
Yeah.
They had to lay off about 50% of their team, and because they had no cash. I mean, they were in a bad cash situation, and you know, you hope that they can work their way out of it. And this thing hit almost at the worst possible time for them, and so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays. But they, the, the these guys could have used this government stimulus thing a month ago.
Right.
If they had done this a month ago, they'd have been able to keep everybody because they would definitely get some money. And so this is one that really could use the help. But everybody else is kind of weathering the storm pretty well.
Yeah, I agree with
So
that.
I have too that they've had record quarters. So
Yeah, most
it's
people are resilient.
yeah.
And some places have had it worse than others, that's for sure.
Yeah, and let me tell you, New York is getting hammered. New
Right.
York City, oh my gosh. I was talking to somebody up there the other day, and I mean, the prediction is New York City alone is going to be worse than the whole country of Italy.
Yeah, I think last time I read, they were up to 35,000 or 30, right at 30,000 cases there.
Yeah, they're getting hammered up there.
Well, you let me know when you want to get started. I'll make a
I'm
quick.
I'm ready. So
Yeah. Well, it's my honor and privilege to introduce Mike Moreau here. Mike's a close friend, and we would consider him family of Saxon Global. We work with him behind the scenes on leadership stuff. He's the founder and CEO of Proactive Leadership. He's certified in Gravitas Impact Premium Coaching, certified as a scale up coach, and certified as a 3HAG coach. So I think most people know him from his work in the IT days, former CIO as well. If you guys aren't connected with him on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend doing so. He's a valuable resource for us. I know he can be a valuable resource for you guys. I'm Danny Weddel with Saxon Global, and we'll turn this over to Mike.
well, good. Thank you, Danny. And I consider it an honor and a privilege to get to spend a few minutes with you all this afternoon. These are interesting times going on out there right now. Certainly, no one ever predicted this, and I can tell you, in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like this. And so, but it also is a time that produces great opportunity. It produces opportunity to evaluate where things are in your business. It's a time to evaluate your teams and your processes and what's going on, and saying, hey, are we really where we need to be? And so, as this whole thing has unfolded over the last 2 weeks, myself and a bevy of almost 200 coaches globally, we're talking almost on a daily basis about what we're hearing, what we're seeing, um, what's going on in particular parts of the world. We have coaches in Australia and Europe and UK and of course all over the US and Canada, and we're consolidating our data and our information, our best practices, and what's working, what's not working, and how are people getting through some of this, especially in some of the areas that are a little more heavy hit, like New York City, California, Texas is starting to get some seeing some pretty dramatic increases in cases of COVID-19. And so as a result of these conversations, one of the things that we have done is we've developed what we call the Agile Growth Checklist for COVID-19. And we're looking at the 7 core areas of a business: leadership, talent, strategy, execution, customer, system, and profit. And these are the 7 attributes of agile growth that we work with, and we help companies work through. And what we've identified are some very key things that organizations need to take a look at in trying to navigate these times. And again, these are built on best practices coming literally from people all over the world. One of the things I would say is just kind of an overview of this. This caught a lot of people by surprise. Nobody anticipated a complete shutdown of the American economic system, so to speak. Even though the essential services, there's a lot of that going on. That represents about 40% of the economy is what's considered essential services. So those people are continuing to work and generate revenue and profits and take care of their people. What that means is 60% of the organizations out there are what we would classify as non-essential. And those non-essential organizations are really struggling because they have obligations to their team, they have vendor obligations, they have credit obligations, customers. It's an all the way up and down the supply chain problem. And so the government is working to get some relief for that 60% of those businesses. As a matter of fact, all businesses are going to benefit from this work that they're doing. Of course, they've got all the politics that are involved in that, and we really can't control that. But there is some help coming for some of those organizations. We're going to talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But as we evaluate this situation, we really look at this is an opportunity for organizational leadership to really step up and lead their organizations. And one of the byproducts of this is the having this situation can actually create some positive inside of organizations in regards to relationships with their team, relationships with their customers and their vendors. There's something about going through a tough situation with somebody that creates a positive relationship that will go well beyond just the business. And so one of the very first things that we talk about in terms of beginning to navigate this is that communication is absolutely the most important thing. One of the things I encourage people to do is not watch the news. The reason being is the majority of the news is negative, it's worst case scenario, and a lot of it is horribly inaccurate. Let me give you an example. I was sitting talking with my wife the other day. She's one of those people that is on Facebook all the time, and I'm not much of a Facebook person. And she said, "You got to see this." And we literally had one post where a doctor said that based on his understanding of everything, only 1% of the population of the U.S. will be affected by the coronavirus. Only 1%. Immediately after that was another post by another doctor that said 70% of the population will be affected by the coronavirus. So the question is, who's right? Okay? And the reality is nobody knows. Okay? They can speculate, they can do their math models. The thing that they cannot predict or control is human behavior. And even though they put the shelter-in-place orders in place and all these other things, there's still people going to the grocery store. There's still people that are going to visit family and friends. There are still people that are indirectly getting together. And until the only way to stop that is to cut off all interaction with other people, and that's not going to happen. So the goal here is to flatten the curve, and that's what they're trying to do with some of these rules they're putting in place. And the reality is nobody knows. They can say they do, nobody knows. It's going to take as long as it takes. It took China approximately 10 weeks from when we found out to getting that thing under control. I have a client that's in Shanghai, in China, and Shanghai is operating, they're actually opened up about 80% right now. Not 100%, they're operating at about 80%. And so there's no more stay-at-home orders and things like that because they've gotten ahead of it. They're seeing the number of cases diminish. And I think that's what's going to happen here. We're going to see, once we get ahead of this thing, and the forecast is that that's going to happen within the next week to 2 weeks, that we will actually flatten the curve where we get ahead of it. Then you'll see some of the restrictions come off and you'll begin to see life get back to normal. But again, that's total speculation. Nobody really knows. A lot of it's going to depend on how people behave. And so human behavior is a big thing. But the real question is, what, as a business owner and a business leader, what do we do about all this? Because it has a huge impact on our business. It affects ourselves as the leaders, it affects our team, it affects our customers, it affects our vendors and suppliers. And so what we want to do is we want to walk through the organization and get you to think about some questions. And by the way, all the resources I'm going to mention here, I will make available. I will send them to Danny at Saxon, and then he can send them out to you guys. Happy to make all this available to you in PDF format. So you'll have a hard copy of what I'm talking about. But the first area we want to talk about is leadership. And leadership is where everything in an organization begins and ends. When I see a successful organization, I see an organization that has great leadership. If I see an organization that's struggling, it tends to come back to leadership. And so the very first thing we recommend from a leadership standpoint is what we call self-care. Because if you are not exhibiting self-care, if you're not taking care of yourself, then what's going to happen is you're going to burn out, you're going to get tired, which will get you sick, and you'll begin to suffer from a lack of resilience, okay? It will affect your decision-making, it'll affect how you operate. And so a friend of mine, Kevin Lawrence, wrote a book here a few years back called Your Oxygen Mask First. And as a leader, I highly recommend that book because it talks about this idea of resilience. And so we're gonna watch a real quick little video from Kevin about this idea of resilience, okay? So let me share this with you.
Habit number 3, double your resilience. I just love this chapter and this principle. The question is, how good are you at making time for the things that build
Mike, you're not sharing the screen yet.
your body, your mind, and your spirit? And when I say
Spirit, it doesn't mean spirits. Spirits are usually an indication that you're off track. If you're finding you need to drink more, or that you're drinking and you haven't drank before, or you're drinking to put yourself to sleep, or anything like that, that's an indication that your resilience is probably off and you're starting to rely on coping mechanisms to try and make it through the day. Not a good scene. Probably an indication you need to dig into this chapter. Great quote on resilience. A good half of the art of living is resilience. Personally, I think that's what it's all about. You know, some people talk about grit, which is having that strong determination, and that's good. But grit alone can get you into trouble. You need the resilience, the strength of your body, your mind, and your spirit to help you to take on these big challenges that lead to what you want to in your work and your life. You really need to work on this if any of these or a few of these are true. Firstly, you continually run out of energy, feel tired, or get sick. If you get sick more than once a year, you need to work on your resilience. Human beings normally live in a natural state of health. Number 2, you're not enjoying the challenges or the wins at work or in your life. Things just start getting blah. 3, you regularly allow other people's priorities to bump the activities you want to do for your own wellness and things that make you feel good and strong. You've stopped doing the activities that bring you a feeling of reward and inspiration. Maybe you don't even know what they are anymore. This is extremely common and one of the biggest symptoms. And finally, you feel you need to escape from your work or your life and just kind of run away from it and get away from it. When you stay true to your resilience rituals, you set yourself up to win no matter what life throws at you. And we know life will always throw stuff at you. The challenge in this chapter is to figure out what the heck your resilience rituals are. What are those things that make you strong, resilient, and actually feeling great? So as you'll see on the screen, and it's also in the book, is my resilience rituals grid. And to have you think about, for your body, what is it you need to do for your body to be strong and energized and an asset for you? What's the frequency you need to do it? And then when? When in the week? When in the day does that need to happen for you? For your mind, what are the things that are going to help you to be clearer and maintain focus on the most important things? Seems to be as people get past their 30s, the mind starts to weaken if you're not managing it in some way. It could be exercise that helps you, meditation, writing. You may have your own routines, whatever it is. What are the things you need to do? And then spirit. What are the things that keep you inspired? What are the things that make you love life? In my world, for those that know me, I love playing with cars, going to the racetrack, my son involved in kart racing, doing driving tours. No matter how you look at it, and you can have all kinds of opinions on what I do, but it makes me feel wonderful and lights me up inside. It just brings out the best in me. So the key here is to figure out what are your resilience rituals and when do you need to do them. Interesting side note on the spirit. You know, I mentioned cars, which is a big thing for me, but for my family, it seems to be playing games as a family that just lights us up and brings the best out of us. But if we go back to one of the previous chapters, if I use all my best passion at work or for myself during the week, and let's say we're on a weekend and I have nothing left in the passion tank, I'm not going to have the energy to pull out a board game and rally the family to do it. So it's really simple. We know that it works as a family, but it takes having the energy and the passion to pull these things off. And when we do, things are great. Unfortunately, we just don't do it enough. Going back to the tools. When you go look at the quarterly review and the quarterly reset, the entire center column, the self column, is all about your resilience rituals. When you're evaluating how you did and what worked well, it links back to your resilience rituals. When you plan your goals for the next quarter, recommendation is most of those goals for self are around your resilience rituals because it makes you strong, vibrant, and looking forward to what you're doing. If you haven't downloaded the tools yet, you can go download them at lawrenceandco.com and go and figure out what your resilience rituals need to be for the next quarter for it to be a great quarter for you.
So you don't need to go get those. I will make those available to you. I'll actually make the whole workbook available to you so that you have access to all of Kevin's tools from his book. But I highly recommend you get the book and read about some of these things. These rituals, these resilience rituals, are really, really important because you got to take care of yourself. The second thing is make sure that the Stockdale paradox is alive and active amongst leaders. And you know, the first time I heard about the Stockdale paradox, it was through a speaking event that Jim Collins was at, and Jim talks about Stockdale paradox in Good to Great. And so, got a really quick little video for that that I want to share with you. That really helps explain what the Stockdale paradox is all about.
Hey, Mike, I don't know if it's just me, but do you think if you mute, we won't get the echo on this video?
I can try that.
Okay, thanks.
Way of thinking that has been enormously helpful to me that came from the Good to Great research for dealing with great difficulty. And it was what we came to call the Stockdale paradox. And the Stockdale paradox was taught to us by, when we were doing the Good to Great research, we're trying to make sense of the CEOs. And in doing that, I just by chance happened to get to know Admiral Jim Stockdale, who was the highest ranking military officer in the Hanoi Hilton, shot down in 1967, was there till 1974. They could pull him out at any time and torture him, and they did. He was tortured over 20 times. And I had the privilege to get to know Admiral Stockdale. And we were going to the faculty club one day, and I had read his book, In Love and War, which was written in alternating chapters by himself and his wife about their years when he was in the camp. And I got depressed reading the book because it seemed so bleak, it seemed so difficult, it seemed, you know, it's like we can all endure anything if we know it's going to come to an end and we know when. But what if you don't know if it's ever going to come to an end? And you certainly don't know when. So I asked Admiral Stockdale how he dealt with that, and he said, you have to realize I never got depressed because I never, ever wavered in my faith that not only I would get out, but I would turn being in the camp into the defining event of my life that in retrospect I would not trade. Later, when we were up the hill, I asked him, I said, Admiral Stockdale, who didn't make it out as strong as you? And he said, easy, it was the optimists. I said, the optimists? You sounded optimistic. He said, no, I was not optimistic. I never wavered in my faith that I would prevail in the end, but I was not optimistic. I said, what's the difference? Well, the optimists always thought we'd be out by Christmas. Of course, Christmas would come and it would go. And then we were going to be out by Easter and Thanksgiving, and then Christmas would come again, and they died of a broken heart. And that's when Admiral Stockdale grabbed me by the shoulders and said, this is what I learned. When you're you're imprisoned by great calamity, by great difficulty, by great uncertainty, you have to, on the one hand, never confuse the need for unwavering faith that you will find a way to prevail in the end, with, on the other hand, the discipline to confront the most brutal facts we actually face. And we're not getting out of here by Christmas.
You're muted.
Sorry. The reality is we don't know how long this is going to last, but it will end. Okay, so we have to have a certain degree of resolve to get through this. In leadership, it is your responsibility to set that tone for your company. If you are doom and gloom, oh, woe is me, things are bad, those kinds of things, you're setting the tone for the rest of your team. And I'm not saying be overly positive. I'm saying be real. Be real about what's going on. Be honest. Communicate regularly with your folks. Okay. The next thing in our checklist here is every leader needs a second in command who is ready to lead if necessary. This is really critical because if you as a leader get sick or are not able to function or whatever, somebody's got to be able to step up. And this is a good thing also for the idea of succession. A good friend of mine named Brad Giles wrote a book called Made to Thrive. And in that book, one of the key responsibilities of a CEO is to have a plan for succession of the CEO role and all the key leaders inside the organization. As a level down leader, to have an opportunity for promotion, you've got to have somebody who can take your place. So it's good business practice to have somebody that is like a clear number two for your area that you're always developing. That's also important to be able to scale the organization also, because leadership in a lot of cases is the barrier to being able to scale. The next one, leaders proactively communicate with employees and customers daily. This is really, really critical right now. You should be talking to your team every single day. I've got a number of CEOs that are using a tool called Loom, which is a little video capture tool that allows you to do a quick little video and then email it out to people. Just send out the link to the video. And what it does is it keeps people up to speed. In the absence of information, people are going to fill in the blank with something, and it's typically negative. So what we want to do is fill in the blank for them. We want to let them know what's going on. We want to be real about what's going on and keep them up to date. I provide my CEOs, and I'll be happy to send this to anybody who would like it. Just send me an email to mike@resultsimprove.com, and I will send you these resources that we have around. These are places you can go to find out what's really going on and get the facts of where things are, both from a shelter-in-place standpoint, from a status of the disease, status of finance, all those things. We've got resources for that. And you want to communicate with your team so that they know what's going on, know what to expect, because they're afraid. They are fearful. And a lot of them, according to statistics, 7 out of 10 live paycheck to paycheck. So they're very afraid about being able to meet their obligations and take care of their family. And so you've got to communicate and let them know what's going on. The other group is your customers, because the reality is they're going through the same things you are, okay? This is a great time to talk to your customers and say, how are you doing? Is there anything you need? And is there anything I can do for you? By doing this, you communicate that you care about them and that they are important to you, and you're willing to do what you can to try to help them. And it should be to try to give without any expectation of anything in return. That's being compassionate, that's demonstrating empathy, and that investment in those relationships will yield value way beyond what's going to happen with this whole thing when it's over. So talk daily with your employees and with your customers. Keep them informed. Let them know you care. Keep them at the forefront, because our team and our customers are the main things we got to have to get things back on track. And if we lose either one of those, it will take us months to recover from that. So we want to keep our team and our customer base intact. The last thing is we need to demonstrate level 5 leadership. This is not about being the CEO on the cover of Fortune. Level 5 leadership is a concept that Jim Collins talks about in his book, Good to Great. And it's about that leader that is, there's nothing about, they are aggressive, they want to win, they work hard, but they're not after the glory. The level 5 leaders are the ones that are, what's best for my team, what's best for the company, what's best for the customer. And that's what they focus on. They don't focus on what's in it for me. They put the needs of the company, their team, and their customers ahead of themselves. And a great example of a level 5 leader is Alan Mulally when he was the CEO of Ford. He was the guy that led Ford through that period of time when they didn't take a government bailout. And so great guy to listen to, a lot of wisdom from that guy, but he's a great example of level 5 leadership. The other thing is the idea of return on luck. And again, this is a Jim Collins concept. And return on luck is basically taking a bad situation. There's a video of Jim talking about when he and his wife found out his wife had cancer. And there's no way you can spin it or say, you know, cancer is a positive thing. But what they did was they said, you know, we're going to, the cancer situation caused their family to create this personal mantra that we're going to focus, you know, what's really important to us is the, you know, taking care of the ones we love and being there for those people. And that was really more important than anything else that they were doing in their life. And so they found this philosophy, this mantra, was one of those things that came out of this bad, difficult situation. And so there will be some things that will come out of this for you and your company and your customers. And what you want to do is you want to evaluate it, and you want to think about what that is. So take a look at you know, the level 5 leadership and return on luck. Make sure those principles have been reviewed. The next area we want to talk about is the area of our team, our talent. okay? Your core values and core purpose are shared and actively used in decision making. If you don't have documented purpose and core values, that's a critical part of the work that we do with organizations. But it's really important for your team because it defines the behaviors that we decide to live by and practice. It drives our decision making. And so having those things well defined and communicated to your team helps you make the right decisions about what's going on in your organization. And through this process over the last couple of weeks, I've seen some great companies and great leaders make some great decisions because this was really defined for the organization. I've also seen some leaders make some very poor decisions because these were not well defined in their organization. So taking the time to get this stuff figured out really helps you make the right decisions around what actions you need to take. The second thing is employee policies are aligned with local government requirements. You should have an employee manual that talks about what happens when somebody needs to be off or somebody's sick or circumstances happen beyond our control. If you don't have that, I highly recommend that you get a good policy manual in place, and it will protect you. It also will guide you in terms of some of the decisions you need to make. You've got to be thinking about employees and their family and take those into considerations as you make decisions about your business. I worked almost 15 years for Interstate Batteries, and I had the opportunity to work for a gentleman by the name of Norm Miller. And Norm and I were traveling through Florida at an event, and we were talking in the car, and he made a comment. He said, Myro, he said, do you realize that when I make a decision, it impacts 2,700 families? And I said, no, I had no idea that level of responsibility was on him. And that's the responsibility we have. We are responsible for our team and for their families, and the decisions we make impact those people. Those are real lives that are touched. So keep that in mind as you go about making decisions. Assess your talent based on your core values, their level of productivity, and the definition of an ideal team player. The Ideal Team Player was a book written by Patrick Lencioni. And the ideal team player, there's three characteristics of an ideal team player. Are they humble? Are they hungry? And are they smart? Humble, they don't feel like the world revolves around them. Hungry, they want to grow, they want to participate, they want to make a difference. And are they smart? And that's not intelligence, that's, do they have the people smarts or the emotional intelligence in order to understand how to work as part of a team or to step up as a leader if need be. And we want to look at our talent and very carefully evaluate it, especially if you're in a situation where you may have to make some changes through these times. So use that as a lens to make those decisions. And then leadership has increased employee connections and conversations. This is a great time to draw close to your team, bring them in, tell them we're fighting this fight together, and help them understand that we will come out of this, and that it's important that you give them some confidence about where we're going, what we're doing, and how we're going to get there. When we talk about strategy, we want to focus on making sure that our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are up to date, that we really understand, we do a SWOT analysis, we know what's going on, and we talk about how to leverage the strengths, mitigate the weaknesses, take advantage of opportunities. There's going to be some companies that are going to grow during this time, and they're going to grow as a result of different things that have opened up. And so you want them to take advantage of that. You want to pay attention to the core competencies. Make sure they're revisited, clarified, and top of mind as we go through this. Want to do a competitive differentiation and attribute map so we understand where the opportunities are in the marketplace. You want to evaluate your pricing strategy, and this is really important because some people may need some payment terms or some relief in terms of those types of things. So you want to take a look at that and evaluate your competitors and customers in light of the current situation. There's going to be some companies that are not going to make it. There's going to be some companies that might become acquisition targets as a result of this situation because of mismanagement or some problem. So we want to be aware of that from a strategic perspective. From an execution, being able to execute on our plans, you want to make sure that, especially if we're in a distributed environment, we have the right tools and processes to be able to support this distributed environment. This is new for a lot of people, and there are resources you need. Zoom is the best video conferencing tool out there. Using some type of chat software like a Slack or a Yammer, Microsoft Teams, something along those lines is helpful to keep the communication flowing. Focus on the critical number and the top 3 to 5 priorities for the quarter. This is something that keeps everybody focused and pulling on the same rope during this period of time. Make sure you're protecting your communication rhythms when everybody's distributed, because communication is so important. Make sure you're having the huddles and the weekly meetings and moving the business forward and protecting those communication rhythms. Be aware of suppliers that could be at risk of disruption, and how does that impact you? Okay, think about upstream, any suppliers or resources that could be impacted. Think about downstream, if you're in wholesale distribution, transportation, things along those lines. How are those things affected? And then what are the leading metrics, the KPIs, the predictors of what's going to happen? Things like demand, order flow, cash, safety is a big thing. Make sure we're doing everything to keep our team safe. Okay, so as we operate in these environments, safety is a really important thing. Make sure we're clean. Make sure we're supporting the 6-foot distancing. Make sure that if somebody's sick, they don't come to work. That's really important in helping get through this. From a customer standpoint, you want to make sure that you're making connections with your customers regularly with empathy, care, and curiosity. In other words, what's going on with you? How are you impacted by this? Is there anything you need, and is there any way I can help you or support you? Should be the questions we're asking our customers. And looking for ways, again, to support them and give to them without any expectation of return. This is a time where we can help each other, okay? They can help you by staying with you. You can help them by supporting them and helping them with whatever they're dealing with. You want to take a look at your ideal core customer profile and make sure that it is refined and revalidated. You want to be aware of changes in your customers' business dynamics and their financial profile is understood. Be aware of where they are, okay? Are they solid? Are they doing good? Or are they really struggling? Is cash flow beginning to become an issue for them? Because if it becomes an issue for them, it's going to become an issue for you. So you need to know what's going on with the customers. The problem you solve for your core customer is analyzed and updated. In other words, this is a great time to reevaluate who your core customer is and what is the problem you solve for them. I have a client that is in the pest control business, and they saw a need out there for some of their commercial clients for somebody to come in and disinfect some of their things, and they have the resources and capabilities to do that. So they're offering that as a value add to some of their existing clients, and a lot of their clients are taking them up on this. So you want to look for opportunities to provide value and help the customer with something that they need right now. Okay, so be aware of that, and then look at the customer experience. There's a guy by the name of Joey Coleman who wrote a book, Never Lose a Customer Again, and he maps out a 6-step customer life cycle. And he talks about all the different ways that we touch the customer during that life cycle. And having that clearly defined, we can look for opportunities to deal with that relationship and make the relationship more valuable for the customer and for you. So look at that customer experience that's being created and say, how can we make that better? From a system standpoint, make sure your 5 core processes are reviewed, charted, and looked at from a lean concept. This is a great time to look at how we can cut cost out of our process. That's a great area from a cash flow standpoint. If we can save materials and save time, we save money. And so we want to look at our processes, make sure there's clear accountability for your processes and that outcomes are updated. Make sure you're practicing good internal change management within the organization, because we may have some people that are having to do things that are out of the norm. So setting and managing expectations, providing clear communication, making sure everybody knows where we're going and what we're doing during this process is really, really critical to getting through it. Having a 90-day tactical plan for implementing digital and virtual tools, making sure that we have a clear game plan for how we're going to do remote communication, how we're going to do remote email, and the things that you need to do to function. With a lot of stuff moved to the cloud, that solves a lot of problems in terms of having distributed access to things. Highly encourage people to operate in cloud-based environments. But if you're not cloud-based, you've got to make sure you have a good disaster recovery plan also. That if something were to happen systematically, that you've got good recovery of systems, backups, things along those lines if you have to replace equipment or something along those lines. So you need to have a good DR or crisis management plan related to systems. The last area we talked about as an area to pay attention to is cash or profit. You need to prepare 3 revenue forecasts based on different scenarios. And the scenarios I've been recommending is you should have a cash flow forecast based on a 15% decline, a 30% decline, and a 50% decline. You should have 3 of those forecasts. So that you know what decisions you need to make if and when these things happen, okay? So you're not caught off guard, you're not, oh my gosh, this is going on. It's having a plan and executing the plan. Think through those decisions before you're under the gun and have to make those calls. I've had clients that have had those plans in place and they've just been executing their plan and they're actually doing very well through this situation. I had others that had no plans, and because there was no plans, they're knee-jerk reacting to situations, and it's costing them team members and customers. So you can alleviate some of the problems by just having a good clear plan and forecast on what's going to happen. Make sure all your expenses are categorized as mission critical, important, and then non-vital or discretionary. Go through your P&L and begin to mark those things that are, this is mission critical, we got to have this. This is very important, but you know, if we didn't have it, we could survive. And then what are those discretionary things that you might be able to do without for a period of time that would allow you to get through this this crisis, okay? Look at ways to optimize your cash flow, okay? Look at things like, there's a tool we use called the Power of One. If we could increase our revenue by 1%, reduced our cost of goods by 1%, reduce our expenses by 1%, if we can reduce our inventory days, or our AR days, or increase our payable days, all those things have an impact on cash flow. And so we want to make sure that we have a very good, clear understanding of the cash flow we need and to get us through how long this is going to take. One of the most important things that we recommend is that find every new source of cash via grants, loans, special programs. You know, there's this $2 trillion stimulus package that passed the Senate yesterday. It's going through the House today. expectation is that it'll be signed tomorrow. But again, it's politics, so we don't know how long it's going to take. But when that is available, I encourage every business owner to take advantage of this. This is almost free money, the way they're doing it. And the barriers to getting the money are going to be lowered because they want people to keep people working. And so what we're recommending is get 6 months of your operating expenses in some type of SBA loan. The great news about this is you have 10 to 30 years to pay it back. They'll define the terms for you to make it affordable for you. And again, it's not going to be, they're reducing some of the requirements in order to get this money out to employers so that they can keep their teams together. And so you want to assign somebody in your organization to get on top of this. And in some of the links that we'll provide to you, there are some access to, I think the website is disasters.sba.something. And but we'll get that out to you so you have access to it. You want to get on top of this. Also, you want to look at all your creditors, loan terms, debt repayment, vendor payment terms. Be sure and go back and see if you need to negotiate some of that. I've seen some people get some deferment on rent and or loan payments or line of credit payments, things along those lines. Banks are willing to offer some things. So you want to make sure that we're availing ourselves of every resource available in order to have the cash to weather this storm. The goal is to keep our team, keep our customers, keep everybody safe, and get through this so that we can get back to business as it needs to be. So those are some of the things that we're hearing and seeing, that recommendations that we're making. I will make this list of things available to you. Happy to answer any questions or address any situations. We're hearing things are changing on a daily basis. And so key is take care of yourself. Priorities are take care of yourself, take care of your people, take care of your customers, take care of your vendors, okay? In that order. Got to take care of yourself first. So what I'd like to do is open it up for questions. So if somebody has a question, feel free, and I will tell you what I know. Any questions? Anybody? Just need to unmute and
Hey, Mike, this is Kristen Beverly. I'm a Saxon employee.
hi, Kristen.
I'm wondering, you said not to watch the news. Where are you getting your trusted information about COVID-19?
There are various organizations out there that are kind of the watchdogs of what's really going on out there. And those links are provided in the email that I sent Gopi. CDC is one of the best sources of information about where the virus is at and its level of impact in terms of confirmed cases, deaths, and areas. There, you can go to the local city government websites. As a matter of fact, the city of Dallas is having a deal for businesses tonight at 5 o'clock that you can sign up for. They're talking about what the city is willing to do to help support businesses. There's quite a few websites. I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but I would check those sources first. Local news is probably better than the network news. So, maybe watch the local news. But again, part of it is these guys sensationalize a lot of stuff. And some of the information that we've found is they're not really reporting accurate information. So those are some of the websites that we recommend. Okay, but I'll make that list available of different resources that you can look at.
Thank you.
Other questions? Anything else? So if there's anything else, feel free to, my email address is mike@resultsimprove.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. Again, we'll make these, I will send these resources over to Danny, and he can distribute those out to everybody. And again, we're here to help. We're here to support you. Anything we can do, please let us know. As we get information, we send that out to our CEOs. So Gopi at Saxon Global will have some information, the stuff we're learning pretty much on a day-by-day basis. The key is you got to communicate. If there's any key takeaways, take care of yourself, take care of your team, take care of your customers and your vendors. You cannot over-communicate. You just can't. So talk is one of the best things you can do right now. Talk to your customers, talk to your team, keep them informed on what's going on. And it's okay to say, I don't know. It's totally okay to say that because we don't know. There are some things that we just don't know what's going to happen. So we're getting, as we get information, we're communicating that out to people. And, you know, it's just, this is a situation we're just going to have to weather. And so my recommendation to everybody is stay safe. You know, really focus on the things that you need to do to, and this is a good time to, if things are slowing down a little bit, it's kind of a good time to evaluate some stuff. And that's some of the things that came out of our checklist, some things to consider, some things to take a look at. Okay, that hopefully will help you get through and out on the other side of this thing.
Well, hey,
Okay.
Mike, we greatly appreciate it. As always, you're a wealth of knowledge, and I'm being sincere about this to everyone on the call. Mike is always available if y'all need him. Yeah, but thank you so much for doing this, and we look forward to future endeavors with you.
You bet. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Okay, y'all take care.
Thanks, Mike.